I think that our country is at a crossroads. I feel that Canada's opportunity and democracy is being eroded. I've had every blessing our country has to offer as someone who immigrated to Canada when I was 15. I have now shown record as formerly a provincial politician to stand up against lockdowns, against passports, against mandates for what is right. And I believe that I'm going to restore credibility to the Conservative Party of Canada and that we're always going to do what we believe is right. I think that I'm not a traditional politician. Aside from the fact that I had a career in private practice before I was elected, I've built a reputation for doing and saying things that I believe to be true, even when it's unpopular. And so about a year and a half ago, I spoke out against the lockdowns at a great risk to myself. I was removed by Doug Ford from the Ontario PC caucus. But that's what voters can always expect from me, is that they will always know where I stand. So I think maybe your question goes towards unity, and the best way to restore unity in our country is to respect the difference of opinion. And that's something we've always enjoyed as Canadians. And part of the theme of my run, which is to restore Canada's democracy, is to restore our freedom of speech in full, the ability of regulated professionals to speak, to end censorship that's now happening on social media, and also create free and independent media that's free of government meddling and certainly is not dependent on the government financially. Free and independent media is a key pillar of democracy. You don't have true democracy unless you have free and independent media. And that means that government cannot be subsidizing media. I will defund the CBC. I will end the bailout and the subsidies to media, and I will end the way that government advertises on the news media. How can the media be objective and independent if the government signs the media's paycheck? It cannot. So to help our democracy and to help our freedom of speech, we need a truly independent media, and that means no money from government. So Bill C-11 is a censorship bill. I definitely oppose that. We should not be censoring Canadians' right to free speech, and we should definitely not be censoring the internet. Those are platforms that are there for posting, and I'm going to repeal Bill C-11 right away. As for digital ID, I have some concerns. I want to make sure that there is no friction in the way that citizens can use their ID, and I'm scared that government will have control over such ID. We also know that Ontario's ID will contain a provision for whether someone is vaccinated or not. I don't think that you should have your medical records on your ID. We have seen such an erosion of privacy and rights of Canadians in the last couple of years that I frankly don't think that government is ready to be trusted with a digital ID. So first of all, I will repeal all mandates and passports on day one, and I will also make sure that we will punish any province that allows for any mandates or passports. This is 21st century segregation. It's not based in science. We know that the vaccine doesn't prevent transmission, doesn't prevent infection. No one else is putting other people at risk. I think it's a hateful proposition which needs to end. I've introduced legislation before against the mandates. I'm going to, once Prime Minister, I will put an end to any semblance of passports or mandates in Canada. Hopefully, we got to divide the NDP and Liberal coalition. We have to convince we need to convince Jagmeet Singh that Justin Trudeau is not in his best political interest, because the country is really seeing how terrible Justin Trudeau is for our country, for our cost of living, and for our democracy. And why would Jagmeet Singh want to associate together with Justin Trudeau is not clear to me, other than perhaps there are some personal political interests by Jagmeet Singh. He needs to act in the best interest of Canadians and this coalition and go for an election.